This is Julie Lessman. Julie is the popular author of A Passion Most Pure, A Passion Redeemed, and A Passion Denied, as well as A Hope Undaunted, which was the 2010's book list top 10 inspirational fiction winners. Julie has garnered several writing awards, including 10 Romance Writers of America awards. She lives in Missouri. Welcome, Julie.
Thanks, Diane. It's good to be here.
Now, one of the things I did is I was reading your book, and it was just an amazing story. The Heart Revealed, the brand new one that just came out. And I read it cover to cover, loved it, loved it. Now, one of the things I was curious about is how did you happen to choose Boston and Ireland? Let's start with Boston.
Well, you see, I wrote my first book, A Passion Most Pure, at the age of 12 after I read Gone with the Wind. And I knew, I was blown away by Gone with the Wind, and I wanted to write the next great American novel at 12. So I wrote 150 single-space pages of what 40 years later became my debut novel, A Passion Most Pure. I knew I wanted a war, didn't have the guts to try the Civil War because Margaret had done that. And I knew I wanted an Irish family like she had, the O'Haras. And I knew, when I was young, I used to watch, there was a Disney show on called Swamp Fox, and it was in the colonial time, and it centered on Boston, and I remember loving Boston, and I loved Boston baked beans. So I decided I was going to have Boston and Dublin because I wanted an Irish family, and those are the cities I picked at 12. I did this at 12.
Now, have you ever been to Boston?
I haven't, and it's really
honey,
sacrilege.
It's time to come visit.
Oh, it is so time, because I love Boston. I've always had this fascination with it, I guess because of all the history. Yeah. But no, I have never been, but I fully intend to.
Well, you need to, because you capture Boston and the aura of Boston and the Irish of Boston very, very well.
Are you from Boston?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Goodness.
So that's why.
That's why I ultimate
said,
compliment.
So you come on over to my house when you come.
Just issue an invite, girl. I'll be there.
All right. All right. Well, anyway, then you also, I was going to ask you about Ireland. Have you been in Ireland?
Oh, no, don't I wish. It's probably the #1 place I would like to visit, just because I've always been fascinated by it. And Irish, anything Irish.
Now, what is it about Irish?
You know, I'm a quarter Irish myself, and I have this incredible fascination and romance with the Irish people. I guess because, well, my father was German, and, I love Germans, don't get me wrong, but, they're a little bit chop-chop, they're kind of dictatorial, and the Irish, my mother's family was Irish. They were called, I can't think what they're called now. Anyway, Kavanaugh. And they, oh my gosh, they just laughed. They had fun, rosy cheeked. They liked to laugh, sing, dance. I just really liked it. And I like tempers. I know that sounds weird. I have a real bad temper myself that through, Jesus Christ, I've learned to tone down quite a bit. Thank you, God. But I like that in a book, because I'm a very dramatic person, and I like a lot of angst and drama in my books. And, a temper lends itself to that. And the Irish, they're very romantic, so that's what I went with.
There you go. Now, how did you come up with the concept for A Heart Revealed?
A Heart Revealed, actually, that was the germ, the seed of, germinated back in book 2, A Passion Redeemed, when my heroine, Charity O'Connor, went to Dublin, and she worked in a shop with a young woman whose husband threw grease in her face and burned. She was a beautiful woman and scarred her face. And he was a womanizer and a drunk, and he abused her. And she became Charity's best friend. Charity was the vixen sister in book 1, and nobody liked her. I actually had people say, I loved your book, but would you do me a favor and slap Charity, please? Or they wanted to see her killed and maimed. I actually got letters like that. So I needed somebody that was soft and genuine, to balance Charity and to make her, she needed to be an advocate for someone, and Emma Malloy was that person. Now, originally in the book 2, she was just a bit character, but as the book progressed, I'm a seat of the pants writer, which means the book takes me where it wants to go. I don't tell it. And Emma's role just expanded. I loved her personality, and just decided at the end of the book, she meets Sean O'Connor at a family dinner. And I just felt the spark. I felt it then. And I knew that down the road, Emma was going to be a story.
Speaking of Emma, and speaking of the grease on her face and marring her face, is there anything in your background that brought that out, or?
I'm from a very dysfunctional family of 13 kids. My father was an eye surgeon, and he was a really great guy, except, he had a horrendous temper, and we had a lot of physical abuse. I remember as a little girl getting beat with a cat of nine tails, which is what they beat Jesus with, except it had rocks in it. But this just was pieces of leather with knots. And, he disciplined us that way. And we had a lot of that. And, it's just a very dysfunctional family. So that's where I came from. But no scarring or anything like that.
Now, do you have a favorite character in A Heart Revealed?
Yes, and people just don't understand this if they haven't read progressively the books. But if they've just read A Passion Most Pure, Charity, the second daughter, is a vixen. Okay, she's very selfish, very manipulative. She's a Scarlet O'Hara because I fell in love with Gone with the Wind. That's why as I said, this is why I wrote the book. I probably was the only gal on the planet that loved Scarlet O'Hara. I don't know why. Anyway, I modeled Charity after her, and I just love her. I guess because she's so human, she's so fallible, and it was just such a pleasure to redeem her for Jesus Christ. I mean, because each one of my characters is an alter ego of me. Faith is my spiritual self, where Jesus Christ is my best friend. I live for him. I talk to him all the time. I pray. I'll pray at the drop of a hat in a hall with a maintenance man if they have a problem. That's just how I am, okay? So that part of me is faith. Charity is myself before Christ. I was selfish. I was hard. I was agnostic. I used to believe they should burn Bibles in hotel rooms. I was a trip, let me tell you. And Charity is that person, and my heart kind of grieves for her because that's who I was. And Jesus Christ took his time to bring me to him through a woman that I worked with who I couldn't stand. I couldn't stand her. She would literally hum every day. I had everything going for me. I was taking an advanced creative writing course at Washington U, which is a prestigious university in St. Louis, and I was acing it, not showing up for the classes. I had a boyfriend who was 225 pounds, worked out at a gym. He had a vet. He had a boat. I had a better job than her. I had it all going on. But she was a single mom with a lesser job, and she came in humming every day. I, on the other hand, felt like Peggy Lee singing that song, Is this all there is? Because I wasn't happy. I was in a transcendental meditation, witchcraft, drugs, you name it. I was in the hippie generation, and I did it all. And I wasn't happy. Nothing did it. And I didn't like God at all. So when she was humming one day, we were alone in the department, I looked up at her, I said, just what in the heck, makes you so happy all the time? Except I used saltier language. And she walked over and looked down at my typewriter and said, I've been praying you would ask. And I went, oh, blank, a Jesus freak. But I was desperate. And so I went to lunch with her every day, and I'd yell at her. I go, your God, what does your God want to do for me? What does he want me to do to believe in him? Because I don't believe in him. I said, I was never loved. I was abused. I said, what can your God do for me? I said, you're going to have to give me something physical to do for me to believe in him, because I don't. What does he want me to do, run around the building 10 times? I said, tell me something. And so she just said, go home, ask him to come into your heart and make himself real to you. And I did, and there's a scene in A Hope and Dawn where Katie O'Connor looks up at the ceiling, and that was me. I said, God, I think I'm talking to a ceiling right now, but if I'm not, make me know it, come into my heart, and change me. And I can't tell you, Diane, if it was 1 month or 2, but I went to lunch with this gal every day, and I fell so in love with Jesus Christ, and totally changed. I mean, he took me from a foul-mouthed, hard, caustic person to somebody totally different. And that's why my love is so intense for him. I'm a passionate writer, both romantically and for God, and I bleed onto the paper because he did that for me. He bled on the cross.
What was the moment that how did he reveal himself to you?
I was into tarot cards and all that stuff, and I remember I was in a bookstore, and my friend kept saying, you got to give all this stuff up, Julie. And I go, I can love God and not give this stuff up. And I was reaching for an astrology book in a Barnes & Noble, I think. And I touched the binding, and it's like it burned me, and it's like he said, no, you're done. And I knew it. I mean, it was like so weird. And then I was in my car one time with my tarot cards, didn't want to give them up because they're the icebreaker at parties. I mean, I was real good at it. I didn't believe in it. I mean, any more than I believed in God. I just thought it was a hoax, this stuff. But it is, I know now that it's the occult, and you don't fool with it. You just don't. And you rebuke it and get it out of your life if you have fooled with it, okay? Anyway, so I was in my car, and my car wouldn't start. And I kept grinding, and it wouldn't start. I said, God, I said, please help my car to start. And I looked down, there were my tarot cards on the seat. And he said, throw them away. And I went, oh, no. I got up, got the tarot cards, got out, threw them in a big bin, trash bin that was out there, and went in, and my car started.
Wow. What a story. That's an incredible, incredible story.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the challenges that you face as an author?
The biggest challenge, and I wish I had known this, is I personally wish that I could have a lobotomy that would take out of my brain the part of being a writer that cares about reviews, contests, book sales. It is cancer. It's a cancer. I write for myself, and I write for Jesus Christ. I write to glorify Him, and when that's my heart. But what happens is it's so insidious. Suddenly, we're human beings. We want people to like what we want. I was rejected as a child. Keep that in mind. That's what I dealt with. So suddenly, people's approval saying, oh, you write well, or oh, that became important to me. I didn't want it to be. It just took over. And I was miserable. And I have been begging God since I've been published, which was 2008, please lobotomize that part of me. Get it out. I don't want it. I don't want to care. I don't want to give a rip. I want to write for you. I don't want to worry about this other stuff. And I want to give and be used by you without worrying about me. It's not about me. So my prayer has often been like John the Baptist, less of me, more of you, God. But you know what? We got blood in our veins. We're human beings, and it has been more difficult than anything I have encountered in my life. And so much so that 2 different times I have thought about giving up writing because I just don't want it to be about me.